Okay, we are now recording. Thank you and welcome.
Okay, hi everybody. I know I've been sitting here quietly for the past few minutes along with my compadre Ron Austin. We are co-presenting. We're really happy to be with you here today. I realize we're at the very end of the conference. We're in the last hour of the last day of the conference, so I really appreciate all of you showing up to join us for this last session. I also want to thank the members of the XR Lab team who've joined us. De Grazia and David Wickstrom is here. Security was here a couple of minutes ago. And basically, I want to introduce myself. I'm Bruce Wolcott. I'm at Bellevue College in Bellevue, Washington. I'm one of the developers and coordinators of the XR Lab, working with exploring the virtual technologies for teaching and learning. And we're associated with the e-learning center as well, so we work in tandem with them at the college. And I want to introduce Ron Austin, who can tell him some stuff about himself as well.
Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Ron Austin. I'm the digital learning manager with Bellevue College. My main focus is on e-learning, and then I also work with the XR Lab, and I just really help support Bruce Wolcott and David Wickstrom, excuse me, and the other student employees who work with the XR Lab at the college. And also another part of my role is looking at ways that we can incorporate some of the XR with e-learning. So, all right.
So Ron, if you want to go ahead, we're going to do a PowerPoint today. I know we've had some XR experiences today that have been more hands-on and interactive, but we have a fair amount of territory to cover, and so we will do it in as entertaining way as we can, and I promise we'll give you something more.
Yeah,
than
we'll
just
try not to talk as fast as the people at the end of the commercials when they're talking about side effects, but we'll keep it a little slower than that. But so I'm going to share my screen, and just to let you know, I'm going to be dropping out of PowerPoint and then going on in and showing videos a little bit here and there. So I might even have to stop sharing and then resharing, just so you know what's going on here. So I'll start sharing now, and let me actually start my PowerPoint up here. And we'll go ahead and go on in there, and pardon me. So is that working for you all? Bruce, is that working?
Yes, that's looks great.
Awesome. And shall I just go to the first slide, the second slide, actually?
Sure. So Ron and I have introduced ourselves. We're part of, if we could go to the next slide. We're from Bellevue College. We're located in Washington State. I realize this is a multi-state conference, multiple conferences happening simultaneously together. We are the third largest institution of higher learning in the state, and we've moved about a decade ago from being a 2-year institution to a 4-year college.
Yeah, and you know, I was just going to follow up with that a little bit. You know, the school started in about 1967, and we really focused more on 2-year degrees for the vast majority of the time. In the last, maybe a little bit less than the last decade, we started offering BSA degrees, and we have about 30,000 students now. And so we're usually between the second, third, or fourth largest college in the state, even including University of Washington. So.
Okay, next slide.
All right. So the XR Lab, Bruce, you can talk more about this. I'll just say that the XR Lab was started about 3 years ago and it's been hosted in the library. It was really brought into being largely because of Bruce and also James Riggle, who at that time was a visiting scholar from Australia. Bruce?
Yeah, James came on a Fulbright scholarship. We had taught long distance courses between Seattle and University of Tasmania many years ago, and then we decided with this Fulbright that we would explore using, obtaining virtual reality technology and exploring its use for teaching and learning. Make a long story short, we were, through work of many administrators and different people, we were able to establish a space on campus adjacent to the library, which is really important. The idea that we offer these high-level technologies for everybody on campus rather than being sequestered within a given discipline or department, so that we really from the very beginning have this idea of availability for educational experiences and headsets and all of the technology requirements that are needed to deliver content and get people involved. And so we've grown from just a couple of headsets where now we have over 20 of them. We have working lab spaces. We have a conference room where we're able to connect with speakers and presenters from all over the world that come in through video conferencing. And we've had network virtual reality events where multiple participants join each other within virtual environments.
Yeah, I'll just add to it by saying that that this open door here is kind of the main area of the lab. That's where we have most of the events take place. We have a class that takes that usually occurs on campus, of course, not this year. And when it does, the class takes place in here and students can take that as a 5-credit class. We have rooms off to the side here. These 2 rooms are used for headset display with lighthouses. If you know what those are just tracking. And so there is rooms for that. And then we try to keep the whole area kind of a fun place. So we have a main office, and then also off to the side here, we have a bunch of comics. So that's fun too. So we just try to keep it a real fun working environment for when we're on campus. So Bruce, I don't know, do you want to talk a little bit about XR and just what it is?
Sure, and I realize many of you are familiar with the term XR and virtual reality, the different kinds of virtual reality technologies there are out there. The term XR refers to either extended reality or that's enhanced by technology, or the X in some cases for some people means it's the X is the variable that can be swapped out with any number of different kinds of technologies that represent an expanded, technologically expanded perceptual reach. So virtual reality generally refers to immersive VR, where you are in a separate environment and interacting with a spatialized environment that feels like the real world. Augmented reality is a Pokemon style computation where you can bring in virtual objects into the real world. Mixed reality is a term that's been used a lot by Microsoft, where they really see the spectrum of the real world to augmented reality as a gradient rather than a separate set of discrete experiences. They want to combine the ability to combine all of augmented, immersive, and flat screen experiences under one roof. Could you click that one more time, Ron? No, go ahead. That's it. So just very quickly, the VR involves a display headset and generally controllers, although some of the new experiences don't require controllers. There are cameras built into the headsets and there are sensors within the controllers that track body movement and position within a 3-dimensional space. And the direction where everything is going is that display technologies will probably get to be more and more the size of glasses, and will be able to support both immersive experiences as well as augmented experiences where virtual objects are brought into real world settings. So our goals, and we got our start about 4 years ago. We've got our full facility about 3 years ago, and we've been moving forward in the direction of getting more and more faculty and students involved with using XR technologies for teaching and learning. One of the things that we found is that inherently these XR technologies are cross-disciplinary, can be used from interior design to people who are in health sciences, to people who are teaching computer science, to people who are using it for art and a variety of different kinds of art, different kinds of artistic applications. We're engaged with local XR industry participants who come and provide us with useful information as we're developing the lab. We're in a technology corridor just down the road from Microsoft, but many of the leading developers of VR are in the Seattle area. And a big part of what we do is developing an XR-based curricula with faculty. That's one of our main missions.
So here, well, do you want to explain the functions at all, or should I just go straight into the video at this point?
Oh, yeah. So just to be briefly cover this, the XR Lab really has several core functions. We do teaching. We have a VR course that we offer. We host events both on campus and off campus. We engage faculty and students in a variety of VR-related projects. Outreach to other schools and institutions as part of an information network, as part of what our work is. And we're providing resources for teaching and using XR for teaching and learning. The video that we have here is one that provides a good overview of what the program is about. It's a short one, and really in our pre-pandemic phase, this is what the XR Lab has been doing up until the pandemic, and then we can explain a bit of how we've adapted to the pandemic circumstances.
And I'll go ahead and play it, and then Bruce, let me know if there's any audio issues on the sharing side of things. I think this is, what is it, about 4 minutes? I'm not going to play it all, but I'll play actually probably the first two and a half minutes or so, right? Just straight through.
Okay.
I love the idea of being able to pull human perception that we're comfortable with into new dimensions that exist beyond our planet.
When you use virtual reality, in some meaningful sense, you're actually transporting yourself to another place. And so you're not remembering something that you saw from someone else's point of view, you're remembering a place that you went to.
That feeling that it gives me, I realize, is the tip of the iceberg for what could possibly be available to anybody on my planet.
Even as designers, we have a hard time understanding the scale, the perception, and how a space is actually going to feel when you're in it. And our clients who even have less training have even a harder time translating what they see on a piece of paper or a flat plan into what a finished space is going to be. So virtual reality is great because you can actually be in the space, move around it, and truly understand the big design scope, the scale of the space, and how all of that works together.
We've worked with faculty from across the campus to run workshops where they bring their classes down and they use virtual reality to support whatever coursework they're doing. Nursing students learning about human biology by shrinking themselves down and floating down a blood vessel and seeing how the human body works from the inside.
Let's take a look at the blood's most prominent cell, the red blood cell.
We're also using it in Art 101. The instructor has used virtual tours of Machu Picchu, for instance, and other architectural spaces. Other programs are using it to, for like oceanography and, studying sea life and what it'd be like to live on the ocean floor, those kinds of things. It's pretty neat.
One of the really great things about VR and AR as an industry is that it is full of people from a whole range of different backgrounds. So VR experiences are created by programmers working together with artists and scientists and just basically people from any kind of background. This is an industry that needs storytellers just as much as it needs engineers.
Virtual reality is definitely a burgeoning field in architecture right now. And in fact, all the big firms in Seattle, Gensler, and BB&J all have virtual reality labs within their architecture firms at the moment. And as the price is coming down and
So because of time, I'll go ahead and pause it there. But I think that gives you a really good idea of the XR Lab, and it's a good introduction. And we'll send you the link to this video as well if you want to finish watching that. I'll go ahead and come back in here and I'll share my screen for the PowerPoint. And Bruce, shall I go to the next slide?
Yeah, please go to the next one.
All right.
And go ahead and advance one more, or just push yeah, there we go. So I just wanted to mention part of what we've done that's been a huge part of what our mission is at Bellevue College is creating events, classes, experiences that people can participate in. And we work both within the campus itself, and we've also worked outside of campus, hosting several events, co-hosting several events with the libraries and different institutions off campus. Last year, prior to the pandemic, from about September through March, the beginning of the pandemic, we had about 3,500 participants that came through the lab and about 150 events, as well as the virtual reality design and communication course, an introductory course that we ran in the lab as well. So we were really quite active. And of course, the coronavirus, like all of us, put us back a little bit on our heels, and we've had to adapt to that. But I did want to point out some of the things that we were involved in prior to the coronavirus, and then what we've been doing afterwards to adapt to change circumstances. So student projects has been an important part of what we do. Students come in, actually David Wickstrom, who's here today and with us, has created the project on the very bottom there. It was an interactive experience using controllers within a virtual environment to move sound objects back and forth. And we've collaborated with RISE, which is the STEM based learning area within campus, and developed several projects through them as well. So student engagement is a big part of what we're about. Next slide, Ron. We've had a variety of different projects. Oh, and Ron, if you want to talk about these, because you've been involved with a lot of this kind of work.
Sure. I'll share out a couple of these videos as well. So within the last year, we've been working with Captain Dick Nelms. He's 97 years old, and he speaks at our Museum of Flight in Seattle. And we took an interest, especially in bringing him to the XR lab, especially after we found out that there's some software that is very similar to the 30 missions that he flew between England and Germany during World War II. And so we were able to document him going into VR, experiencing situations that were similar to what he had done in real life. We'll show you a very short video that it was very inspiring to work with him. So that's really awesome. I don't know as much about the sculpture project, so I'll let Bruce speak about that. Wei Geiger, she is just such a advocate of the lab. She's an instructor at the college. She teaches for health sciences as well as for the language department. Just as an aside, she helped create one of the first, I believe the first actually, online Chinese course for a college, for a public institution. And so that was in the early 2000s. So anyways, she's always on the cutting edge is what I'm trying to say. And she worked with Unity, I believe, but Bruce, you can correct me on that, please. But she helped design some stuff for her students to work with in a virtual world during this pandemic time. And she's been showing that to us. It's been largely successful. Gina Sen's worked with us, started working with us a little bit over a year ago. She teaches radiology, and a part of that is anatomy. And so you even saw some of that in the opening video, because that's from the excerpt that she shot. It's super interesting. What she did was she put on a headset. We just did a screen capture of the headset. So it's a little bit 101 in a way. It's just a screen capture of some of what the person is seeing from their headset point of view. But I think that's pretty novel for a lot of people and for a lot of faculty. And then she added some voiceover either during that experience or afterwards in post-production. And we were able to help with that. So I'm actually going to hit escape. I'm going to share out, and I just want to share a little bit of this. Before I do, was there anything that you wanted to say about the sculpture project, Bruce?
Well, Robert Wetherington teaches sculpture on campus, and he's been working with the virtual modeling prototyping tool where he can visualize and pre-build the sculpture in virtual reality, and then take the models and recreate them in the real world using the design that's evolved within a virtual environment.
Well, let me go on in and play a little bit of the, I'm not play very much of the radiology one, but you see, we built this up in an interactive program. You could use any type of program for this. We used one called Articulate Rise, but really anything with hotspots. And of course, you don't have to do the hotspots, but we thought that added a touch. And then you come on in, you click on this, and it goes to YouTube video. And the YouTube video is not a 360 video. This is actually just a flat screen, but you could set it up as that.
I'm going to make the heart a little bit more transparent. There we go.
So she's viewing the heart in virtual reality in a program called ShareCare. And she's able to make it semi-transparent. She's able to rotate it. She's able to show oxygenated blood versus deoxygenated blood and where it moves throughout the heart. And so she's providing a lecture, an anatomy and physiology lectures using these real-time models that she's able to manipulate, enlarge, contract, and there are a variety of different body organs that she can make use of to lecture and present her materials, which has been a great area of exploration for her.
Yeah, and it's, again, it's relatively simple once you understand a few of the basics, like how to use this headset and then how to do a screen capture on that. We used a software called OBM, which is a free software, by the way. It's and that's relatively common. So again, we set it up, so we have a bunch of different videos in there. The other one is the virtual campus. This is the one that Wei set up for her Chinese students this quarter. And this was delivered online. I'll play about, maybe less than a minute of this, but I'll just start from here.
Accompanied by the four-season Zen garden in the middle. But there's also a classroom in the Zen garden. You can choose where to teach your class. Let's move to the classroom. You can walk or you can teleport there. There are two screens you can use. Maybe one for a web page, one for sharing documents, such as a PowerPoint, Word. Let's take a look. You also can share interactive Google Doc. All students can type and draw at the same time. Language, literature, mathematics, etc. You can let students use it as a whiteboard. Students are able to have group discussion activities in the VR campus.
Boy, isn't that just so cool? That's just awesome. So, so we were super excited that she's been working with us on that, and that's just awesome.
So the idea, excuse me, Ron, just wanted to say that the virtual Zen garden was set up so that it represents all four seasons of the year, and students can go to different locations. They can talk in sort of the central area and then the formal classroom area in there as well. And rather than looking at the screens from a distance, they can call up the screens to full screen so that they can work with them directly, which kind of solves a lot of the problems of being in the back of the classroom in a virtual environment.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do, we're more than halfway through. I'll show the Captain Dick Nelms for about a minute and a half, and then we'll see if anybody has questions. So, let me see if I can bring this to full screen. And I'll just hit play here. So here he is with the headset on, obviously at the XR lab.
Fellow
There's some added music here. We're using this for a few different purposes.
This is actually it's a simulation of the bombing of Berlin, which was, he was a bomber pilot. He was 21 years old. And of course,
authentic experiences during the Second World War. And
I'll just let it finish here.
Berlin and
yeah, sorry. Here I can turn down the audio.
We also
here I just go ahead and play the audio.
Try out some,
okay.
A virtual reality experience that was.
Besides, it's you anyways here, Bruce.
BBC of that mission, that same mission, and of course we were interested to find out how the virtual reality experience compared with your actual experience.
Well, the virtual reality was very exciting, not having done that before especially, and the mission and the way it was explained and the explosions and everything, very real, but absolutely no fear involved there at all, because I knew that it was manufactured and it wasn't real, and the airplane wasn't bouncing around, and I couldn't hear pieces of steel coming through the airplane. Anti-aircraft was much more dense.
So anyways, he goes on to obviously describe some of the differences, but it's just been great work working with him, and we're actually still going to finish up the project with him. In fact, we're going to be using a Matterport camera over at the Flight Museum, or there's another person who's been doing it, but we're going to tap into some of that resources. So let me hit escape on that one. And then Bruce, was there anything else you wanted to add about that?
No, except I think it's this is quite interesting to be this relationship between the virtual world and actual events. The VR gives us the ability to move in location, time and space in a very flexible kind of way, which you can be down at a microscopic level, or you could be on a galactic level, and all scales in between. And time then is flexible. It can move faster or slower. And then, as we've seen here, it was interesting to bring in someone who actually lived the experience of being in the Second World War and the terrible circumstances of people getting killed on the ground and in the air, and going back to a time period when he was just a youngster, really. He's in his early 20s, and actually being able to simulate what the experience was like to a large degree, and then having him compare his actual experience with the virtual one.
So we're more than halfway through the presentation so far. Is there any questions? You can type them in the chat, or you're welcome to ask them, I think, as well. But if you have any questions to put in the chat, we'd be happy to answer things. Anything?
Not yet, Ron.
All right, so let's go on in. I'm actually going to just go straight into the COVID-19 adaptation.
Oh, I do want to say one thing, just the slide before then, and I think this is I think this is important to know about. One of the discoveries for us as the XR Lab evolved over the past 3 to 4 years is the fact that there are a lot of schools, United States and Canada, but also different parts of the world, that are beginning to explore the use of virtual reality technologies for teaching and learning, and they're beginning to exchange information. And there are several groups like Educators in VR, as you see up in the upper right-hand corner, CHEX, which is the Champions of Higher Education in XR, the Virtual World Society, and a variety of other organizations that are actively looking to connect with each other and share information with one another. And this has accelerated the process of development. I think this very generous offering of and cross-pollination of ideas has been very rich and powerful and global. And so it's one of the features of VR that I don't think people realize, is that it's a collaborative technology. It's not just people disappearing into a headset and in a cocoon. It really is a collaborative environment and global in nature.
Right. No, that's so important to bring up. And actually, some of the online stuff that you've been helping to organize this year gets into that even more. So that's great. Oops, let me go to the next slide. There we go.
So I just wanted to bring up, the COVID-19, certainly, as we all know, we've all been put back on our heels. Schools have had to close. We've had to adapt by delivering all of our content online. At least that's the situation with Bellevue College, and most of the schools in the Washington area are in similar situations. And so there's been this increased reliance on online experiences in education. And of course, we're using Zoom. This is sort of a fundamental building block, as well as Microsoft Teams and Discord. Those are all important communications technologies, but the VR has become increasingly important and viable as a way that we can adapt to these kinds of constraints of not being able to be in a physical building. How do we deliver content outside of the formal classroom? So part of what we've been involved with this past year was, how, if we don't have headsets, if we're not in a physical location, how does the XR lab continue to flourish and function? And I guess one of the ideas that we've been working on is we've been collaborating with a variety of faculty on campus who are delivering online content. One of them is a fellow named John Bishop. He teaches in the Tombola program on North Campus, which is professional technical training. And he teaches a series of courses dealing with history. And many of his students are retired people. And he's looked at the history of Winston Churchill, the variety of interesting events. One of them has to do with the relationship between Canada and the United States. So he calls this, he's from England initially, so he calls it Brit on the Border. And we were able to use VR, Google Earth VR, to generate some of the imagery and some of the navigation to different locations, as well that he integrated into his program. So we had a VR-based experiences that were integrated into his classes and courses.
And then Waze again. And I'm not going to show that one again.
No.
But is there anything else you want to add about what Waze done?
Oh, just that Way has been involved with online teaching, and she's explored several different technologies: Engage, AltSpace VR, Unreal Editor, a variety of different virtual reality platforms to create classroom environments, interactive classroom environments. And so we saw the video earlier, and she's continuing. She's actually held classes in a cohort of students that she's worked with for a while, and had good results. They love working in VR. That's been her experience.
And so I don't know if you currently have an XR type lab like Bellevue College, or if you're thinking of starting one, what the situation may be. But if you're thinking of starting one, or in the early stages, a lot of faculty probably won't be into it at first, but you're going to have some people like Wei who will definitely be into it. And these are the
first adopters.
The first adopters, the shareholders, if you will, right? And they're going to be really into it. And these are the people, you want to have 3-5 people at least to start off with, and they'll be your main core. And she's one of them.
Also, one of the areas that we've been exploring has been how can we engage students in projects involving VR that have real world applications. And this year we were fortunate to have gotten together with the computer science department and developed we're able to get students involved with a series of different kinds of projects. And actually, David Wickstrom is here. He's been
Yeah.
involved with creating that project. I was wondering, Yvonne, if we could get David to sort of describe. He was one of the leads for the student project, and he's a student at Bellevue College in his 4th year of computer science. That would work for you.
Yes, I've asked him to unmute himself.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. How's it going?
So could you bring up that screen again? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah,
good.
no, I'm actually going to the one here, which, well, this isn't related to David's exactly, but you can at least speak to this stuff and the one that you're working on, David. So
Yeah, so right now my capstone team is working on a virtual reality anatomy viewer. We're working with a health sciences division, and it's going to be a tool that students and faculty alike will be able to use to actually see virtual anatomy right in front of you that you can grab and kind of interact with and learn from this tool that we are creating. And it's going to be an open source tool, and more teams over the years will be able to add more pieces of the human anatomy to it, like different organs and skeletal structure and nervous system. And this is the current project that we're working on right now for the school. So
very
yeah.
cool.
So that was the anatomy project. We don't have any images for that, David. Could you talk a little bit about the photogrammetry project that we're doing with Paolo Tozzolini?
Oh, for Paolo Tozzolini, the Matterport project?
Yeah.
So with the Matterport camera, matter as in actual matter, and porting it into a virtual environment. The Matterport camera is pretty cool because it uses like LiDAR technology to scan the environment around you. And we can create realistic 3D models of realistic environments, and everything will be textured, and you can actually explore those environments within virtual reality, which is pretty amazing.
So I just heard from Paolo. They finished the first part of the project, and they've been talking with the Museum of Flight to work on some photogrammetry projects for them before the end of the 2nd quarter as part of their capstone project. That just came in. And also,
we have
Leslie
something
and
even
David,
more exciting, I think.
Leslie and David, could you talk about this other project related to those capstone projects, the Immersive Collaboration?
The Immersive Collaboration. So yeah, Leslie and we created a classroom, a virtual classroom for the capstone class, and every student within the course was given a virtual reality headset, and we had met in a virtual world and collaborated together, working on team projects. Like my team, for example, is called Ocussonics. We're working with the ultrasound lab to create the anatomy heart viewer, pretty much the anatomy heart tool. And other teams like the Matterport team was there as well. And another team that's working on another capstone project, they're called the Chancho Churros team. They're creating an actual application for a restaurant, which isn't VR related, but we met all within this virtual space, and we were able to see each other and interact with each other. We had kind of like a virtual pizza party, and it was fun. It was really interesting. And my teacher, one thing that really stood out that he said was it was amazing from being or working remote and having to teach in a remote way. It was amazing being there in a virtual environment and being able to see your students directly in front of you and actually being able to speak directly to them. Yeah.
And so everyone had a headset on. Well, I believe so. There might have been a few people using flat screen, but everyone was in there, and a lot of people had headsets on, if not everyone.
Yep.
And you actually delivered headsets to people, didn't you? We're on the XR lab, I think. So
Yeah.
Or, yeah. So
We
it's
hand
awesome.
delivered the headsets to every student within the
Yeah.
class.
So Leslie, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, not much to add. But yeah, I'll second what the professor said about it being just really immersive. It was, it's pretty cool to like just meet in VR because it like you really feel like there's like a presence of these other people around you, and you can actually, you know, be collaborating in like a space like it feels like you're physically all in one space. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a bit, it's definitely an interesting change from something like Zoom. So yeah, it was a pretty fun experience.
So this was actually the midway capstone project review for the 3 capstone projects through computer science, right? And anyway, it was well executed, and it was, you know, David and Leslie sort of carried the weight for getting this up and running. So it was quite exciting for us.
It was very, very cool.
It was an awesome time.
All right. And this was an excellent project that you really did a lot of work to put together, Bruce, working with your colleague, Paul Jackson.
Yeah, Dr. Jackson is an interesting story. He was actually a virtual reality engineer for many years working for Boeing. So he worked on a lot of early flight simulators for Boeing in the 1980s and 1990s. And since his retirement, he's been involved a lot with community issues, social justice issues in the Seattle area. And he pulled together, we had a Black History Month at Bellevue College, and Seattle has a really interesting Black history area in Seattle called the Central District. And there are a lot of points of events that took place over many years, some of them very recent over the past year, that highlight a lot of the developments and history of the Black Americans in Seattle. So anyway, I was wondering, could you call up the
Sure.
his environment
Here,
that he
I'll just
created?
need to hit escape here, and then I will move this out of the way, and I'll pull up the browser, and it's going to be on Google Earth, this one here, right?
Yeah, it's in Google Earth. It's Google Earth based, which is interesting because Google Earth has a VR version and it has a flat screen version, and you can work either way. And of course, this is important. The idea that everyone has to have headsets, I think, is unrealistic at this point. Although VR type devices will probably be as common as smartphones as they become smaller and more mobile. But this is the Central District in Seattle, and we're moving from, you can see over on the left-hand side, there are a series of locations: Mount Zion Baptist Church, Seattle Vocational Institute, Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Park, Garfield High School. These are all locations of events that have taken place in Black history in Seattle for the past 100 to 150 years. And so they're locations that have stories associated with them. And one of them being the Garfield High School, which is where Jimi Hendrix went to high school, but also Quincy Jones, the music composer, went through high school there. And the ability for Google Earth to give you a bird's eye view and then move down to street level, so you can see these locations actually as they look like, not from the air, but from the ground level, and then to integrate images and websites within each of these locations has made it a very powerful presentation tool, and one that's quite straightforward to use. Google has taken a lot of the pain out of creating these kinds of virtual events. This is Jimi Hendrix Park
and now
in
we're
the
going
northwest.
to the statue. Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
So
the Jimi Hendrix, okay.
Yeah, we were just at the park, and now we're going to the statue. So I'll drop us down by the statue. So, and this is something anyone with access to a web browser can do. Let me see if I can get myself turned around here. I'm on the wrong side of the street. There we are, and I should be able to zoom in. just a little bit on Mr. Hendricks. So there's a statue there. Yeah. So there you go. We can fly on over to one more place, maybe. What's the park? Is that on here? Or maybe not. Anyways.
Well, Cal Anderson Park is just around, is just on the next street over, but you could probably go back to the map and take. So a lot of the events that happened most recently, which is Cal Anderson Park, and the events that took place this past summer, took place in Cal Anderson Park, which is another location.
Yeah, here I just drop in on the African American Museum. Is it going to let me? No.
Okay. All
right. So that's super cool, and that's something which any one of us can bring into the classroom. So awesome.
And so this has been a valuable tool to use for a kind of situation where you want to see a bird's eye view, but you also want to be on the ground level and get a 360-degree view of what's happening on the street. We're looking at a project for considering a project right now, just talking about one called the Longhouse Project, where we're thinking about using the Matterport camera to record the inside of a longhouse and using Google Earth as a way to identify key historic locations for the Duwamish tribe, which has thousands of year history in the Seattle area, and is now in kind of the Duwamish tribal area is now in kind of a heavily industrialized part of Seattle. But I think that's everything, right, Ron? Is there anything that you wanted to add?
I think that's all. So we'll see if there's any questions. We'll see if there's who's here who's not with the XR Lab or e-learning. Let's see.
So we are at wow, holy smoke, we're at 3:49. Is that correct? So
yeah, correct. Yes. So let's wrap up. Any final thoughts? And we have time for one or two questions.
We'd love to take a few softball questions. You bet. So.
There's a question from Christina in chat.
All right, here I'm going to stop sharing. And yeah, so what's the question?
Let's see.
Are there any open source educational VR games you would recommend?
Open source education. So there are some educational programs that applications that are out there that are free to use if you have headsets, and each headset has its own associated set of games. The Quest, the Quest put out by Oculus Rift has a series of, first of all, let me back up a little bit. The VR Earth is a program that plays on, as we saw in flat screen, but it's also something that works well in the Oculus Rift and the Vive headsets. There's a virtual version of that. There's another one which is available called, that you saw, the anatomy program is called ShareCare, and ShareCare is a free application. There's a downloadable version that really gives you a lot to experience. Also, another one, which I think if we're looking at education, is the Body VR. And the Body VR, we saw a small portion of that in the video, where you actually can be shrunk down to the size of a blood platelet, and then you travel down the bloodstream, and during the whole period of time, you're given you interact with a variety of different kinds of blood cells, and then you're actually shrunk down inside of a cell, in the nucleus of a cell. And it's a game-like experience, but these are really focused on delivering educational type of experiences, and those are the ones that we are focused on more than ones that are for purely entertainment.
Yeah, that was actually. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say that was actually a fear. Think of a lot of people at school that we just wind up playing video games all day. So, but that's not the case at all, of course. We only do that part of the day.
There was, I guess that's part of anybody who's beginning to introduce XR technologies, virtual reality technologies to their schools. There are people who, necessarily are somewhat skeptical of whether this is appropriate in an academic setting or not. And so that's been a big part of what we've been doing, is making a good case for why XR is something everyone should be paying attention to, and why people should engage with it. And I think we've been largely successful at Bellevue College, where we've done quite well that way.
Well, we've got one more question from Roberta. Have you worked on projects that have individuals with disabilities use VR to promote neural connections that may have been recently lost due to injury?
Oh, that's a great question. And I'm trying to think if there's anything there are people I know. We've been in contact with people at the University of Washington who are working in that arena. We don't have any programs that are sort of available on the sort of the level that we're working with, and the schools are not commercially available yet. But to make a long story short, the idea is that people who have missing limbs, for example, can the program that they're working on would actually have people train virtually to pick up objects with an arm that's missing, right? But they're training their brain how to pick up the object. And then what happens is their brain understands how to do it and can transmit the signals to a virtual arm or to an actual mechanical arm, so to control it. So this idea, so this is all kind of an experimental early stages at the University of Washington, but it's quite exciting because it's pointing about towards in the direction of this relationship to virtual and actual, virtual experiences and learning with actual implementations.
Well, and also, weren't you working with someone recently who was paralyzed for part of their body? Or I'm sorry, maybe I'm not. So,
so
Jeff Rayner.
I'm sorry.
Jeff Rayner was working with some of that technology.
Yeah, go ahead, David. Go ahead and describe that.
Well, we're really out of time.
Okay.
Yeah,
you're right. Sorry, Yvonne. Sorry,
no,
Yvonne.
This is great conversation. I wish we had more time. I see that you put a link to the XR lab in the chat. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you both very much for your time. This has been very intriguing.
Well, thank you for hosting this. Well, thank you for all your work in hosting this. De Grazia, we were hoping to introduce you as well, but we'll be doing that at the next conference that we do soon. So, all right.
Yeah, De Grazia, thanks for coming in today.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right.
Thanks,
okay, ciao. Bruce, I'll talk to you in a little bit.